Break a couple of heads. Huh? I mean, you know what we're fighting out there? They know it. I mean, that's why they hate me out there.
Nick Nolte is a crooked cop, and Timothy Hutton is the young assistant district attorney assigned to investigate him in Q&A, one of the new movies you're going to be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. Plus, we'll also take a look at an unusual video where Michael Caine teaches a master class on the art of movie acting. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is called Q&A after the transcript of questions and answers between an investigating assistant district attorney and a veteran Irish policeman who killed a Latino street punk. Q&A takes this one incident and opens it up to show the ethnic divisions that fuel so much of the hate in New York City. In the film, Timothy Hutton plays the fresh-faced assistant DA assigned to the case, his first. Nick Nolte plays the accused cop, a legend both for his crime fighting and for his racism.
It's a pleasure. I know your old man. It's cops like that that made us the finest.
Yeah, man, we were just telling some more war stories, and my kid's telling us what cojones he got over here is laughing his ass off.
You ain't nothing but a with straight hair.
Gentlemen, you're in violation of police department directives. Racist epithets are not permitted.
Excuse me, sir. Who's a racist? Me and Chappie? With the minorities, man. I mean, you damn lucky to get us, you know. We quit. Some federal judge take away your money. Now, Brennan, he ain't no racist. He hates everybody.
Hutton begins a routine investigation into the case, but it explodes in his face when he questions one of the Latino witnesses to the killing, well played by Armand Asante, now living with Hutton's former girlfriend.
You think I don't know why you got me down here in this cockamamie case? Of course, she's with me now. White bread. Oh, yeah, I know all about you and my old lady. She told me everything. If I catch you sniffing around her, you're going to get much more than you could ever handle.
As the investigation deepens, Hutton is forced to confront his self-righteous Irish boss, Patrick O'Neill, who wants, for his own reasons, to have this case dismissed quickly.
The grand jury will go where you lead them. Don't ask for the Q&A. They'll accept your quotes from it. Now, don't complicate this, Francis.
At the center of the film is the character played by Nick Nolte, a cop who is often effective, but thoroughly corrupt.
Listen to me, Mike. If you're dirty, you're going. And anything you say to me from now on, say it to me in the Q&A.
Nick Nolte really comes across like an old warhorse in this picture, and I call Nick Nolte's character often effective but thoroughly corrupt, and that's how the makers of this film see the law enforcement world in New York City. It was written by a judge there, the original book on which the film is based, and it was directed by Sidney Lumet, who has tackled such corruption before in his great film Serpico. This film, Q&A, is messier, and in some ways intentionally so. It can almost be called Do the Wrong Thing, because most everyone here is flawed because of racial prejudice. I didn't like everything in Q&A, however, I won't easily forget it.
I didn't like everything either. The plot gets a little bit sticky, especially when we get around to the point where they're hiding that guy on the boat and so forth. But this is an important movie, because this is a movie like the movie by Spike Lee that you mentioned, that looks frankly at the fact that people divide up along tribal lines almost. In other words, you may belong to the police department, you may be a law enforcement officer, you may be a DA, or you may be head of homicide, but nevertheless your primary loyalty may be to the other members in the organization who belong to your racial group. And the way that that's expressed is by all of these racial and ethnic words and labels that they use constantly, peppering their speech. And of course they're thick-skinned, so you can call anyone in this movie anything and they brush it off, but actually it's not so much of an insult, it's more territorial. It's saying I'm me and you're not.
The power games are all played out this way. It seems to be the biggest agenda is protecting your turf rather than doing the right thing, if you will, or following the law. It's interesting also the way even the criminals have their power games games going on here. There are three stratas of criminals basically here. There's the Latinos, the blacks, and the Italians. I mean, and they're all having their own little fiefdoms and fighting this out in the city. You sit there and it is depressing at some level, and yet it's a great canvas that the guy's painted.
Lumet has centered his career in New York City, and nobody knows New York actors better than he does, and there are a lot of good character performances in this movie. You mentioned Armand Assante. I didn't even recognize him at first. It is an original,
very fine
performance. I have not seen him play a character anything like this before, and it's one of the best performances in the movie. Another smaller performance I liked was by Leonard Cimino. He played the mafia boss, the old man, and he has a couple of great scenes.
Very good film.
Okay, next movie, and our next movie is Spaced Invaders, a family movie about a small town in Illinois that is invaded by visitors from Mars. The story gimmick is that the invasion takes place on Halloween, the anniversary of Orson Welles' famous 1938 War of the Worlds broadcast, which fooled a lot of listeners at that time into believing there really was a Martian invasion going on. I guess the reverse sort of thing happens in Spaced Invaders. The invaders have difficulty in convincing anyone they really are from Mars.
Shorter than I thought they'd be.
Right, let's take them out.
What if they come in small, medium, and large?
Wow, a dinosaur.
Huge, you're all alive.
Prepare to die, Earth scum.
Maybe later.
That's Patrika Darbo as the mother, who is very, very slow to catch on.
You wouldn't like me when I'm mad.
Where are you really from?
Now tell me who you are. By tomorrow morning, they're going to be printing your pictures on milk cartons.
The local deputy is good for a lot of predictable moments in this movie, like this one when he arrests a Martian for speeding.
And I clocked you going 3,000 miles per hour. That's 2,945 miles an hour in excess of the posted limit.
Great. There goes my insurance.
I don't know. I don't want to kick a harmless movie when it's down. Maybe I was the wrong person to see this film. The movie is not clever, it's not inventive, it's not funny, but it is the sort of harmless, goofy entertainment that little kids like, especially little kids, real little kids. Real little.
How little?
Real little.
Like crawling age?
Well, I think perhaps sentient might be, you know, the cutoff. My problem as a slightly older viewer was that I'd rarely seen more stupid people in the same movie than I saw in this one. And since half the gags in this movie depend on people being too slow to figure things out, my patience wore real thin.
Yeah.
Real thin.
Yeah, I understand. I had the same reaction, and yet there are pictures that can be fun. I mean, I'm not going to let the film pass that easily by saying that somebody might like it. I didn't. There is one shot that I thought was interesting, which is they have this flat Illinois landscape, and they show cars speeding across, back and forth. It's obviously a model car zipping past, and I thought, well, that's kind of cute. That has a little humor to it. But I thought the film was lacking in humor. Why can't the kids say really funny things to each other? They're sitting there with a script. Why not write bright kids? Why not write bright adults? Why have stupid farmers all the time in these pictures? The picture is dull, except for that one shot. I'm talking about one single shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, one shot is where a good picture starts, and then if they can add a second one and a third. Coming up next, The Guardian. The director of The Exorcist returns with another supernatural thriller, this time about a demonic babysitter.
Our next film is called The Guardian, about a demonic babysitter who ends up terrorizing a yuppie couple and their baby boy. The babysitter is a descendant of the ancient Druids who worshipped trees. She hopes to sacrifice the child to a tree. First, she has to charm the infant.
This is Jamara. And this is Pyewacket.
When the father suspects that the baby is in jeopardy, he confronts the babysitter, much to his wife's disapproval.
I told you I wanted Dr. Klein to see him.
He's perfectly fine. He had a lovely time, actually.
Sure, he had a lovely time. Babies always have a lovely time. He has a lovely time lying on the rug.
Will you please stop shouting? What's going on here?
The Guardian was directed by Bill Friedkin of The Exorcist fame, and it too has its supernatural moments as the father tries to rescue the baby from being sacrificed to a giant tree near his home. That's more silly than frightening, and The Guardian also is a routine police thriller after the couple has apparently killed the babysitter with their car.
You saw the tree?
Mm-hmm.
The babies.
You mean the carvings?
They're not carvings. That's where she took the babies. She takes
Mr. Sterling, we didn't find her body.
What?
I don't think this plot works at all. I don't think it's at all important what this woman is going to do with the baby, so much for the story. On the movie level, the visuals aren't compelling either. The big tree is your standard horror movie tree with animated limbs. The couple is boring. The police are standard movie dullards who immediately take the side of the guilty. And the special effects from Bill Friedkin to The Exorcist, well, they're nothing that, shall we say, will turn your head. There's not much to like about The Guardian.
You know, there is one area, though, Gene, where this movie breaks important new ground, and this is something that movie trivia experts
Oh, you're
should
going to
study.
be funny now.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be funny. This is the first horror movie in which a chainsaw is used against a tree.
I understand. I mean, and then it spews out blood and all that.
Now,
so.
thank you for that enormous laugh of support
Well,
there.
it's
My
not that
funny
funny.
remark. You know, it's too bad about William Friedkin, because here is an important director. To Live and Die in L.A. was a very, very good movie.
French Connection, obviously.
The French Connection. His last film, Rampage, which was never released, which I had an opportunity to see, was a true crime story. He was right at the top of his form. This man is making great movies that nobody sees, and then he, you know, probably because he wanted to keep working, made a movie like The Guardian, which will get released and won't do his career or his reputation any good at all.
There really isn't an element here that's compelling. I mean, you know, if the Druids are supposed to be a threat to us, I mean, The Exorcist, it was a real threat to the world. There's nothing going on here. I mean, we laugh at the tree. It just falls apart at every critical step.
Yeah, it's just real hard to get involved with a babysitter that wants to sacrifice a baby to a tree. When we come back, Monsieur Hire, the story of a lonely man whose sexual fantasies make him a murder suspect. Our next movie is named Monsieur Hire. That's spelled H-I-R-E. And this is one of the single most compellingly watchable films that I've seen in a long time. One of those films that starts slowly and then begins to draw a web of fascination around you as you grow involved in the details of a single human life. The life belongs to a lonely bachelor named Hire, played by Michel Blanc. His apartment window overlooks the apartment of an attractive young woman, and night after night, he stands in the dark and watches her, and she knows that he's watching. That's Sandrine Bonnaire as the young woman. You may remember her great performance in the film Vagabond. Her boyfriend is a criminal who doesn't understand her as well as he thinks he does.
Ouais, je voudrais que tu sois ma femme.
Tu donnes pas tant de mal, c'est pas la peine.
Pourquoi tu dis ça?
Tu te sens pas obligé de me baratiner, c'est tout.
Ah bon, parce que tu me crois pas?
Non. Ça m'empêche pas de t'aimer.
One day, the lonely man gets an unexpected visitor in his apartment.
Je pensais pas que ça pouvait être habité.
Je n'allume jamais l'électricité, c'est pour ça.
Je voudrais voir. Mais c'est terrible, on voit tout.
What's basically happening in this movie is that Monsieur Hire is being set up as a suspect for murder. But that's not giving anything away, because this is really a movie about the convoluted and perplexing complications of the human heart. What, for example, does that young woman really feel about Monsieur Hire? Does she pity him? Does she fear him? Does she even love him a little bit? Does she know? She's playing a game here that's as much of a mystery to her boyfriend as it is to Monsieur Hire. This movie is based on one of the best novels by Georges Simenon, and it deserves comparison with the other great movies based on his work, like The Clockmaker and Le Chat.
It is a terrific film, and I think the movies were built for eavesdropping. I mean, we've seen that throughout film history, that is one of the most compelling indigenous subjects to film, which is somebody looking at somebody else, and we're watching them, and we're eavesdropping too. What is interesting about this film is the eavesdropping doesn't end with that simple shot. We're always eavesdropping, because these people, in their relationship, really don't know what they're looking for in some way, and they don't know what they're receiving. And it is a complete mystery from start to finish of what they want and what they're getting. And it is absolutely fascinating.
That's why it's so fascinating. So many Hollywood movies feel the need to give us a plot.
Explanation.
So that it can be explained, and then it can be solved. You're absolutely right, Gene. These are two people who are aware that their windows face each other across this courtyard. There are complications in their lives that eventually get involved, but in the meantime, they know that they can see, and they don't do anything about it because they don't know how they feel about it. And we watch, and we are fascinated.
And that's the drama of that situation, of course, is the drama of most relationships that people have, is we're staring at each other, and we think we know what we want, we're not sure, and we certainly have no idea whether we're going to get it.
That's a very interesting point.
Well, thank you, Roger.
Congratulations, yes. Coming up next, a remarkable home video with Professor Michael Caine teaching young actors how to act on film.
I want to see someone who's slightly pitiful character.
Our next film up for review is really a videotaped lecture by Michael Caine on how to be a good movie actor. Not a stage actor, a movie actor. It's called Acting in Film, and it was delivered 3 years ago to an audience of young British actors, and Caine gives us and them a rare on-camera insight into the tricks of his trade. His first piece of advice to these young actors: the movie camera is so intimate, you can act, and you will act, with just your eyes.
If I'm talking to you, and I don't blink, and I just keep going, and I don't blink, and I keep on going, and I don't blink, you start to listen to what I'm saying. And it makes me a very strong person, as opposed to someone who is sitting there going.
Even your eyelashes are important, he says.
If you're fair and you've got blonde eyelashes like I have, you wear mascara, because if you have blonde eyelashes and you're in a movie, you might as well be in a radio play.
And here's his advice on intimate love scenes.
I always carry a little thing of mouth spray, you know? And just before a love scene, just in case, because you don't know, in case anybody has sort of breath problems, I always go, shh, shh. And the actress says, "What's that?" I say, "Have a taste."
Here, using his character from Educating Rita, one of his 4 Oscar nominations, he shows how to play a drunk while sitting in a chair.
There's something in the way that you sit isn't drunk. You don't go like this, but there's just, it's just, if a normal man sat down in the armchair, he'd sit like this, say, "Hello, how are you?" And then, yes, oh, you've got a difference. But a drunk is, it's very small. And this character is, suddenly I'm a foot shorter and slightly pitiful. I've only moved about 2 inches.
That's remarkable material. This tape, called Acting in Film, is a treasure for more than just budding young film actors. It helps us study an actor's face. I'm not going to be looking at performances quite the same way that I did before I saw this film. It will help you understand how an actor works his magic or her magic. The tape also works as a grand entertainment with more drama than most movies, including some of Michael Caine's old films. He's a marvelous teacher, one of the old-fashioned great talents of the movies, and it's ultimately very generous of him, I think, to share these secrets. I love this tape.
You know, I looked at this tape with complete fascination from beginning to end.
Yes.
This is, you know, for 20 years, I've been a movie critic, and I've always asked myself, how can I really judge acting on film other than subjectively? Now I know, or at least I have a start. The fascinating thing about this film is it's not all that theory about emotion, about how you have to feel the stuff inside and how you have to express your feelings and get in touch with your emotions and so forth. It's a technical movie. It's about how to hit your mark. It's about whether you're looking at the other person with your left eye or your right eye.
And don't change it.
And don't change it. It's about don't blink. It's about how to stay within the focus of the camera. It's about how much freedom do you have in a close-up.
Yeah.
It's about all of this stuff, and I'm with you. I'm not going to look at a movie the same way again now that I've seen this film.
Yeah, it's also about slowing down. In the movies, relax. It's about relaxation, and what I like is he doesn't say that word relaxation. We see him relax. We see him correct the kids who are all hyped up and nervous. We see him slump in that chair as the drunk and not be the boisterous. It's real clear-cut lesson that I think every critic should see and everybody who goes to the movie should see.
You know, a lot of people go to the video stores, they rent a movie for the weekend or whatever. This movie is in video stores.
Right.
It would be the other movie to rent. And then bring it home and put it on first, and it will probably change the way you look at whatever other movie you rented. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs up for Q&A, the thriller that's also a painful look at racial divisions in New York City. It's a very good film. 2 thumbs down, way down, for Spaced Invaders, the sci-fi comedy that doesn't have a brain in its head. 2 more thumbs down for The Guardian, William Friedkin's disappointing thriller about druid babysitters. But 2 enthusiastic thumbs up for Monsieur Hire, the fascinating story of a lonely peeping Tom and an unsolved murder. And Monsieur Hire, right. Q&A, and the Michael Caine masterclass, Michael Caine
acting in film.
Acting in film.
There's also a book which is a transcript of his class, and it includes extra material too. You can get both of them, but I would get on top of the...
It's the tape, because you want to see him. He plays... Right. There's one TV camera that he uses as if it's the movie camera.
Right.
And he looks right in there, and you can see him looking right at you and showing you exactly what he does.
And he'll show you where a mistake, and then he'll correct himself and show you how to do it right. Fascinating material. That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Short Time, a comedy starring Dabney Coleman and Matt Frewer. Also, the controversial sex thriller Wild Orchid with Mickey Rourke and Jacqueline Bisset. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Snowcaps, Raisinets, and Goobers. 3 big box office hits starring Nestle Milk Chocolate. Moviegoers give them a definite 2 thumbs up. Super 8 Motels, with over 700 locations nationwide, and the American Express card welcomed at all of them. Don't leave home without it. Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Now with 30 flavors, you can serve it every day for a month and never serve the same dish twice. Extra strength SOS glass cleaners in ammonia or fresh scent vinegar. For any kind of mess, call SOS.